Howdy, howdy, fellow movie fans! Welcome, friends and foes alike, to the latest entry in the greatest movie action scene tournament of all time! Here between the ONETA Show and the Wisco Movie Watch podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, we're your hosts, Evan Davies, Dylan Davies. It's Elite Eight time, Dylan. How are you thinking about this?
It's good matchups.
Good, goddamn right, there's some good matchups. The most understated way to open the show. Some good matchups. It's like someone who only watches the Final Four in the NCAA tournament, and you're like, some good matchups there.
I don't watch the tournament anymore, so
I mean, to be fair, I just get the alerts on upsets, and I do a bracket with friends every year.
What's another adjective that starts with an E?
Elite. For the Elite Eight instead of that,
the elegant eight,
the erroneous eight, the the ecstatic eight, the excellent eight. The excellent eight's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah,
that's not bad. You know,
the enchanting eight.
Yeah,
the enigmatic eight.
Yeah, that's a great name. I don't know if it works though. So for this tournament, but nonetheless, it's a lot of fun to see it here. So we're in the Elite Eight. Heavy hitters are coming to play here, including our first opening.
They're all heavy hitters.
They're all heavy hitters at this point. They're all great. That's the one thing is we're setting this up. We should always. I always get so excited to do this. I don't set up the rules half the time. Let us know what you think in the comment section of what you think should have won in these matchups. We want to get your guys' opinions on everything. We love that. We're going to be scoring out of 10 points. We each get 10 points. Collective score takes the winner. On top of that, we're going to talk more about losers than winners as always because the winners need to make it further. Now, we're going to talk more winners today probably because there's going to be a lot more closer matchups than usual. Even Sweet 16 had some close matchups even where I was like, okay, well, we got to discuss. But Elite 8's going to be difficult. What's our first matchup today, Dylan?
We got Interstellar docking sequence versus Jurassic Park T-Rex scene.
So, Interstellar has gotten here by beating out Chariot Race from Ben-Hur, the Crazy 88 fight from Kill Bill, the truck and motorbike chase from Terminator 2. Meanwhile, Jurassic Park, which I have to check now, but consistently has been taking out the highest of competition, seemingly. It's beaten out the Wayman fight from Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's beaten out the first Jade Fox fight from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's beating out parts of Helm's fucking Deep from Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Yeah.
This T-Rex, just like the franchise, will not fucking die.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one.
How do you score Interstellar versus Jurassic Park?
6-4 Jurassic Park.
I also have 6-4 Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Taking out the number one seed, Interstellar, which...
Yeah.
We couldn't even talk about Interstellar that much because it was just, it's better. Yeah, it's better. It's just clearly better than the stuff it got up against most of the time.
I think Interstellar definitely had an easier way
than most of our bigger seeds, sure. I would agree with
that. Because I should say it's undeniable. Like, out of all the competition, it had the easiest way. Honestly,
the thing is, it's certainly, again, we seeded these where we only seeded the number one seeds and we seeded our worst 8 for play-in games. Everything else is randomly seeded.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park goes up against fucking Murderer's Row over here.
Yeah.
Later, Fellowship of the Ring has taken out some really good competition, as has Ghost Protocol and some other stuff here. But yeah, like Interstellar, it got the winner of a bunch of close matchups in its Sweet 16 round. So now it was kind of, you don't want to say sleeping giant because it loses here to Jurassic Park, but I mean, this is an incredible... Quickly on Jurassic Park, what gave you the win? Is it the variety once again?
variety, and also well, I was gonna say the mixture of practical and like early visual effects
Hmm.
that are like incredibly impressive.
Yes.
But I'm sure there are practical elements to Interstellar. I don't know which what parts are.
You can't tell, but
It's hard to say.
in a Christopher Nolan movie, you can be rest assured there are somehow practical effects somehow.
Yes, I know at least parts of Interstellar are. I just don't know what sequences are. That's the thing.
Right.
So that gave because I know what parts of Jurassic Park are practical.
Yeah.
It's very easy to tell.
It's pretty much everything except the fucking T-Rex in some shots. Like
any shot where it's a full body of a T-Rex, that's gonna be CG.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that really kind of helped me decide was that.
again, I said this a bit in the Sweet 16. There are matchups here, and to me, this is the ultimate matchup of one scene does something so incredibly well. Just one thing or two things that it does so well that it's undeniable that it's going to keep rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Until it gets up against something like Jurassic Park, where it does virtually everything really fucking well.
Yeah.
The only, I would say, only thing I think Jurassic Park is weaker than is it doesn't have, I don't think it builds the same amount of tension. It's damn close.
Yeah.
And the music pales in comparison. But
it gets to a higher peak, Interstellar does.
Yes.
But it doesn't have the same amount of tension in terms of a build-up.
Yes.
Really. Because what Interstellar's really good at is immediately you know the stakes. Like, you know what that scene is about.
Yeah.
Like, they clearly define, like, oh, okay, we need to dock this thing into that thing. And then you immediately you're like, okay, I understand what's going on. This thing's spinning, and we need to spin our ship so it can go into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the shots where, like, you slowly start seeing that they're becoming an equilibrium.
Yeah.
That shit's awesome. I love that stuff.
That's the thing is, it's the reason why Interstellar is a flawed film.
Oh yeah.
It's a reason why so many people still say it's their favorite Nolan film. And like Nolan has had, in terms of blockbuster spectacle, because I would argue Oppenheimer's not a blockbuster spectacle movie.
No.
Whatsoever. That Dunkirk is a tighter film than Interstellar, and has done spectacle. Not as much as Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
Inception is a much tighter film than Interstellar, with just as much spectacle. The Dark Knight is one of the tightest films ever made, where you and I both agreed there's not an ounce of fat in The Dark Knight. And it's just so well tied up, right? Interstellar is so flawed in comparison to those films.
But I think if you ask Christopher Nolan, he would say it's not.
Right. But you have Interstellar, in comparison to those films, is very flawed. And yet, so many people will go, nope, that's my favorite. I love Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
Interstellar is a streaming giant. When it's always in commercials for streaming platforms, if they have Interstellar, they're always going to put it up as like, we got Interstellar. We got Interstellar. And you're like, cool.
Also, you also have to give it credit, because anytime I've seen a scientist talk about Interstellar, all they do is praise it for the amount of accuracy.
Yeah, and I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson was a consultant on this film. They brought in legit people. They didn't just say, well, let's look up some YouTube videos and figure it out.
Yeah, no, I've seen so many videos like breaking down scenes of like just outer space stuff, space scenes in movies and stuff. Every time Interstellar comes on, they're like, yep, that's probably the most accurate thing I've ever seen in a movie. So they they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Also, the other day I learned that a black hole from Interstellar, watching a scientist break it down, I learned that a black hole is actually a spherical object. I always thought it was like a funnel,
Yeah.
but apparently not.
Yeah.
So,
It's in. I mean,
you learn something new every day.
you do, especially when you're watching Interstellar, and what a spectacle that film is. But the peak of that film is that sequence. And it's just been ramping up, and there's all this underlying tension where you know it's gotta blow, and you know it's like watching a boiler tank. That you know that thing's gotta explode. When is it gonna explode? And for 30 minutes before that, you're like, things gotta blow. Things gotta blow. Things gotta blow. Things gotta blow. You're like, damn!
That movie has two very clear high points, where it's that in terms of the action, and then the scene where he's watching his kids age slowly.
Oh, God.
As the emotional
heart-wrenching.
Like, those are two so clearly the best parts of that movie.
Right.
Like, it is a good movie.
Have you ever heard Timothy Chalamet talk about that?
I don't think so.
So it's like the forgotten Timothy Chalamet movie because he plays the young version of Casey Affleck. He plays his son when he's younger.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where I completely forgot. I just saw a clip of Timothy Chalamet, and he's like, and Timothy Chalamet, at least up until that interview, said, "What's your favorite movie you've ever been in?" And he's like, Interstellar. Interstellar still says like that was his favorite movie he's ever been in. But he talks about that scene, and he's like, I thought they'd at least cut back once or twice to me, but they only show Matt. but he's just like, would have been nice to at least be in the scene.
Yeah.
Because what I'm doing is making him do stuff too, but I understand it, I get it. But he's like, but he still talks about it. I just thought that was such a great anecdote that you brought up that scene. Interstellar's incredible. What a fun movie, man. What a fun movie.
When you got Matthew McConaughey acting his ass off, you don't really need to cut away from it. So
talk about 2013, 2014.
He's at his peak.
The McConaissance was on fucking fire. Mud, Dallas Buyers Club, and Interstellar. He is impeccable in all three of those films, where you just go, God damn it, this guy's good. And you're used to him being he's you're used to him being in bad rom-coms and other shit that just never launches, and all these weird projects, and he's kind of doing that now.
You should have went for the pun there. Failure to launch.
I know, but you just have all these movies that for like 10 years where he's just not really doing anything of merit in terms of the film being all that great. And then in 2 years' time, it just explodes with 3 movies that are just incredible. That you just have to go, God damn, this guy's good.
Also, he all of a sudden becomes cool to everyone.
Yes.
And not just women who like him.
So, yes.
Yeah.
He goes from that guy we like in a rom-com to everyone's like, got a Lincoln? You got a ride. Yeah. You're like, yeah, love him. Oh, I'm excited every time Matthew McConaughey's kind of out of his fucking mind, and I'm here for it.
Oh, he's a weird guy, yeah.
But I fucking love him, and every time someone says, oh, he got cast in this, I'm like, let's fucking go, because I know he's going to do a good job. He's so damn good.
I just saw he auditioned for Titanic.
Interesting.
But he thought he had the role. It went so well, he thought he got it. But then,
damn you,
they just never.
Damn you, James Cameron. No, I'm just playing.
I'm glad it played out like it did.
I'm sure Titanic worked just fine without him.
Yes.
It would have been better as Leo's character, Jack Dawson, is sinking. And as he sings, we want a Lincoln. Like, you gotta drive a Lincoln. That'd be perfect.
No. The funny thing is, it was supposed to be Leo and Matthew McConaughey. He was auditioning for Kate Winslet role.
Oh.
Now, that would have been good.
That would have been great. That would have been cutting edge in a very different way for James Cameron. So
yes.
Jurassic Park beats Interstellar in a 12-8 victory. Woo! I think Jurassic Park's got a real chance to take this whole fucking thing. I really do. It just
It's
does so
good.
many things so goddamn well. And it's like you said, we said this in the Sweet 16 episode. We both overlooked this.
Mm-hmm.
Where I watched this and I was like, all right, I just gotta, you know, I gotta get my bones back up against this one, gonna figure this out. And I went, holy shit, this is so fucking good.
Yeah.
This is incredible. So the Elite Four spot first filled goes to Jurassic Park. All right, we go to the cruise bracket to try to determine their representative in the Elite, or from the Elite Eight to the Final Four. We have the Burj Khalifa climb from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, taking on the Almond Hen fight from Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. Ghost Protocol has done. I can't say Ghost Protocol yet. Goddamn. It's taken out the warehouse scene from Batman vs Superman. It's taken out the Avengers Endgame scene of the Big Three versus Thanos, and it's taken out its own fucking brother from Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation's water tank heist. Meanwhile, Fellowship of the Ring has taken out the duel of Wesley and Inigo from The Princess Bride. It's taking out what was probably the most impressive early victory. Fellowship of the Ring took out the truck chase and flip from The Dark Knight, and it took out the club scene from the original John Wick. So Burj Khalifa versus Almond Hen. How'd you score it?
I was split 5-5.
I had a feeling you might do that to me.
Yeah. I have a leaning if you do split. Like I have a 5.5 if needed.
We don't need it. I'm gonna quote Ric Flair here with a tear in my eye. I went with Ghost Protocol 6-4.
Okay. I was actually leaning the other way.
Again, it pains me that I have now been the deciding vote on 2 Lord of the Rings losses because I fucking adore the Lord of the Rings. It's my favorite story of all time. Greatest trilogy of all time.
If we allowed decimals, it was 5.5 to 4.5.
Yeah,
Fellowship.
That's where I was on the Fellowship Dark Knight fight. I was like, if I have to argue, I think it has to be Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly on Ghost Protocol, the reason that I had the win here was the tension. You just feel so much for Ethan Hunt in that moment where you just go, can this guy not catch a fucking break? Like, why can nothing just be as simple as go through the door, shoot some people, leave? Like, why can it never be like that?
That's what it was in the first 3. Right. Not anymore.
Right. And now he has climbing gloves that don't fucking work half the time, and he has a slack line that isn't large enough, and all this shit does not go right for him.
That's actually a great moment that's often overlooked in that scene.
Yes.
Is the fact that he's climbing with one hand.
Oh, God. Again, I feel so much fear and tension in my chest, in my stomach, in my fucking butthole watching that goddamn scene, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what it did for me, because I love The Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite book of the 3. The Almond Hen fight is one of my favorites of all the trilogy outside of The Ride of the Rohirrim and You Bow to No One. It's the best part of The Fellowship of the Ring, in my opinion, outside of Samwise Gamgee just being Samwise Gamgee. Like,
Fellowship is my favorite movie of the 3.
I think I would argue the same. It's really close with Return of the King, but I would probably say Fellowship of the Ring is. It just moves differently than the other two. The other two have a very epic pace. Not that Fellowship doesn't, but there's such a clear, like, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
I've always preferred the first one. I don't know why. I always have.
I used to be far more Return of the King. And there was a kid, because you're a kid and you just are wowed by spectacle. There's a little part of me that's like Two Towers, but Two Towers is so clearly, which is so dumb because it's such an incredible movie, but to me is so clearly the third place spot now.
I don't know. I hear a lot of people say Two Towers is their favorite.
They have the same argument I had when I was 12, which is why I kind of just go, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Helm's Deep's
Yeah.
so cool. I'm like, well, what else about it? Well, Helm's Deep's so cool. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not cool. For instance, I think I love Avengers Endgame more than Avengers Infinity War. But I think Infinity War is a tighter and better movie. But Endgame is so clearly my favorite and way cooler and better in those moments.
I like Infinity War more.
But Infinity War, I think, is a better movie. But,
So,
you know,
one of the things that I like about the Fellowship scene, even more than, I don't know if I would say it's better than the Return of the King battle. It's pretty close though. I like both. I like it more than Helm's Deep actually.
Okay.
The Fellowship battle, because there's no digital effects in there at all because they couldn't do it yet. Because it hadn't been created. The software had not been created yet.
Yeah.
So they just couldn't do like big crowd simulations yet.
So it's just a bunch of people in Urukai costume. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just
I
extras and like incredible looking makeup.
I will say
I'm sure some crappy looking masks. I'm sure in the far background. I'm sure there's some shitty looking masks out there.
I'm gonna be honest. I know they're only gonna show their best in the behind the scenes. I don't know if anything shitty was made on that film. Everything's impeccable.
You gotta assume that there's some crappy looking shit in the far background.
I would love to.
It happens in everything.
I'd love to be an extra and just volunteer for the worst stuff, and just say, "Well, I was in the shot. Well, where are you? You see that guy way, way, way back there that you'll never be able to determine, other than you can clearly see that there's a head in a crowd. You're like, yeah, that's me. Why? I had the worst. I had the worst costume of anybody. I got the rush job costume.
Yeah,
which
happens a lot.
You can never tell in the Fellowship of the Ring that happens.
No, they're good at hiding it, but yeah. So that's something I really like about that battle. I shouldn't say I like their character moments more, but it still has like the entire Fellowship together.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see all the characters you love still have these moments together. Well, except Gandalf, obviously.
Outside of this events of Khazad-dûm, that's the scene in which that changes everything for everybody.
Yes.
And what I love is, speaking of those character moments, and we've said this a lot, I said this in the Two Towers as well, the fantasy world building aspects are so subtly sown throughout that scene, and they still leave you wanting more and room for growth, but that scene is so impeccable by itself, in which, I mean, it's the only one to make it the Elite Eight. All three Lord of the Rings movies got a Sweet 16. But this is the only one to make it to the Elite Eight, and it's for good reason. And it's the least scale of all three of them, so that should show you. It doesn't always have to be epic scope in terms of giant battlefield. But the big thing here for me was, in character moment, that I just adore is you have reluctant leader Aragorn, where he really is not sure of himself yet. He's not sure he should be the one to do this. He's fine if it's just him and Frodo, but he doesn't believe that he's there to lead everybody. And after that fight, he knows it's the first time that you see the king. It's a small snippet. You can see where the warrior is the king, where he refuses the temptation of the ring, puts the sword up, and he's going to take on the entire crowd of Uruk-hai. Come the fuck on. You get to see the king there. Awesome.
Yeah. You also get like really great, not just like emotional moments, but really cool action moments as well.
Yes.
Like the part where I don't know. I'm sure the Urukai, that main guy, has a name. I'm sure he does.
I'd have to look it up. But yeah.
Um, but when he throws the shield and then Aragorn gets pinned to the
Oh, it's so
tree,
cool. It's
that
so
moment's
cool.
awesome. Um, I mean, Boromir just getting impaled by arrows is pretty fucking awesome. Let's be honest here.
It looks cool. Sean Bean can't live.
Yeah.
I said this on an earlier show. I just recently watched The Martian, and he doesn't die in that, and it felt wrong. Because Sean Bean exclusively dies.
I forgot he's in that. Yes,
and he was I think he was my favorite character in the entire thing because he's just so rogue. He didn't give a fuck. I loved him. Again,
that guy's name is Lurtz.
Yes, it is Lurtz. Yes. So again, you get Aragorn with these great moments. You get Sam he doesn't even really get to a fight. It's just Sam sprinting throughout the forest, showing the devotion to Frodo.
And then you get Merry and Pippin like sacrificing themselves for Frodo.
Exactly. It's that first moment where you can see why they are the friends they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they already proved enough being in the chase to Bree. But since Rivendell, they haven't done anything where you're like, God damn, they're real ones.
That's not true. Pippin knocked that skeleton down the hole and fucked it up for him.
And possibly could be blamed for Gandalf's original death. Yes.
Have you ever seen that meme of where it shows like a bunch of dominoes and they become increasingly bigger, and it shows like Pippin's
maybe
it shows the little one is Pippin knocking the skeleton down, and then it shows it from his point of view, where it's like all the things that happen because of him, and it's like pretty much Pippin as the hero of Lord of the Rings. It's really funny. It's great.
I mean, we love Pippin. Pippin's great.
He used to be my favorite character in the whole series.
Yeah, I think he's my least favorite Hobbit. I'm not sure. I don't know. In the books, it's a little bit different. In the movies, he's clearly the fourth. To me, it's actually, that's a lie. In the movies, Frodo's my least favorite.
Here we go. I got the meme. It's push the skeleton down the shaft, wake up the Balrog. Gandalf falls and comes back stronger. The Fellowship splits. The Ents help defeat Saruman. Aragorn and Legolas, Gimli and Gandalf help Rohan and Gondor. Sauron is distracted as Sam and Frodo sneak into Mordor. The One Ring is destroyed. and it shows Pippin as the guy knocking down the dominoes. It's so funny. It's such a great meme.
But again, you could see that's the time that you can look at both of them and go, y'all are real ones. You stand by your friends. Where I love that realization moment where Pippin's like, what's he doing? And Merry's like, he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of comes up, he gets shocked and he's like, oh fuck, we can't help. Well, here's how we're going to help. Just run, Frodo. Go. We'll get it. We'll take care of it. And they're fighting to the very end. They're throwing rocks at fucking Uruk-hai. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Legolas and Gimli still get a couple moments there, and the ultimate redemption of Boromir, where that scene sets up so much of what the temptation and paranoia of the ring is for Frodo.
Yes.
It's incredible. And that redemption of Boromir, where he's got 3 arrows in his chest, he knows he's done his friend wrong, and he just wants to fight to the bitter end to prove that it wasn't really his character to do that. It was the temptation of the ring. He's a good man. Oh,
mm-hmm.
Not a dry eye in the theater. Come on now.
It's a great battle.
Again, it doesn't give you the same physical tense feeling that Ghost Protocol does.
Yeah.
Which is why I went with Ghost Protocol on the 6-4 split. Ghost Protocol is moving on to the Elite Four with a 11-9 victory. And once again, the big Lord of the Rings fan of the two of us stabs Lord of the Rings in the heart, and it's great to feel that way, apparently.
Yeah. Well, really, it was a little bit closer for allowing decimals.
Yeah, if we allowed decimal points. The problem is eventually we get into this point where it's like 5.5 or like 5.4 versus like 5.6 the other way. It's like, how much more can we do?
That's why I'm not allowing it. Yeah.
Now, maybe one day we'll make another friend and be able to have 3 people in a fucking tournament situation, but who knows? All right, we're gonna go to the Weaver bracket for their Elite Eight matchup. We have the truck chase sequence from Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is beat out Original Mission Impossible Heist, which is beat out the Die Hard Roof Jump, and it's beat out its own brother of the tank chase in The Last Crusade to take on Casino Royale's parkour chase, which is gotten here by beating out the Batmobile chase from the Batman, the Candyland shootout of Django Unchained, the destruction of Ginza from Godzilla -1. It's turned into a force, man. Casino Royale versus Raiders of the Lost Ark. How'd you score it?
I did 7-3 Raiders.
I also went 7-3 Raiders. I think this is quick hypothetical. Could Casino Royale have beaten Interstellar or Ghost Protocol or Fellowship of the Ring for you? I think I may have given it over Interstellar, again because of the...
I think it actually would be, to me, I think it would be Interstellar, Mission Impossible 4, and maybe tie Fellowship.
It's high praise.
No, that's why the thing about this battle is they're actually really similar in a sense.
Yes, they are.
Because there's so many different facets to each chase scene.
They're both chase scenes with mini scenes throughout.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they are entirely character motivation driven and show you everything you need to know about the character. One just does it better than the other.
Yeah. And it also helps that you have one as the greatest director directing it, and one has
Martin Campbell?
A pretty good director.
So I ain't here to throw stones. Last night I rewatched Mask of Zorro. Martin Campbell has 3 of my favorite movies of all time under his belt, so I ain't throwing stones.
Oh. I didn't know he did Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, he has Mask of Zorro,
GoldenEye,
and Casino Royale are all Martin Campbell. So I will never say a bad fucking word about Martin Campbell. Actually, that's a lie. I will. He directed Green Lantern. That really took him down. If Green Lantern doesn't exist, I think he has a different end of career path.
Yeah. Oh, Martin Campbell's an Aussie?
I thought he was...
Oh no, he's a Kiwi.
Yeah, okay.
He's from New Zealand.
Yeah, I love his work. Also, Spielberg executive producing Mask of Zorro. Also, I always forget that one too. It's great, but I'll never say a bad word about Martin Campbell.
Is that a DreamWorks movie?
Amblin Entertainment.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just looking at his other movies because, man, he really has not directed anything since Green Lantern.
Green Lantern was
That's a killer. That's a fucking...
And the worst part is...
Absolute.
The worst part is when they announced him to direct that movie, I went, that's perfect. It's perfect because he
On paper.
He did 2 reinventions of the same fucking character. Where Pierce's Bond is a transition into an action-oriented Bond that still has the suave characteristics of the past, but gets rid of a lot of the cheese and the schlock. And then you go to this ultimate badass version of Bond by the same fucking guy.
Yeah, it is a good choice on paper.
And that's a great introduction for both Zorro's seen in The Mask of Zorro. They both have incredible intros to really set those characters up. So he knows what the fuck he's doing. It's just Green Lantern was awful.
Yeah, and he's capable of doing pretty big action, so...
Yeah, that's why I was so it was another heartbreaker. A character that I love, a story that I love, a director that I love. I was like, this is match made in heaven. That I could easily seen myself if I were put in the studio head position saying, perfect choice. Let's go for it.
So let's talk about the scenes. What do you got breaking down the actual scenes?
The greatest thing I have here is when I look at Raiders, there's a little bit more fun to Raiders.
Oh, 100%.
But I don't want to say it's lopsided because you have a ton of fun in Casino Royale as well.
Casino Royale is definitely more serious.
Oh, 1,000%.
But it's definitely a more serious movie.
Generally speaking,
because Bond. Well, I shouldn't say Bond always is, but
this Bond was. This was the turning. This is the turning of the franchise.
Yeah, I was gonna say Moonraker, not as serious as Raiders of the Lost Ark somehow.
You know, when you watch, oh god, you watch The Living Daylights, not the same. When you watch View to a Kill, not the same tone.
That's one I have not seen actually. I know it's bad.
It's one of my guilty pleasures. I love watching it, but it's because I can just go, what the fuck? Like
that's got Christopher Walken, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, yeah.
Grace Jones and what's her fucking name? It's the mom from That 70s Show. Is the Bond girl.
Oh,
not Kitty, but Donna's mom.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Shit, I can picture. I just can't think of her name.
And it also, again, nice tie to Indiana Jones. Alison Doody is also a Bond girl in that as well, from Last Crusade.
What is that? 3 years before Last Crusade?
4. I want to say that's 85. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they have Duran. Yeah, they have Duran Duran singing the theme song.
Oh yeah, that's the one that everyone loves.
Oh, it's such a good fucking theme song. It's great.
Yeah.
And you just have 57-year-old Roger Moore and his Depends, and with such you want to like going back in this tournament for another tie. When I was like, there's such clear doubles in Terminator 2. You know, every scene is a double for Roger Moore, and you're like,
oh,
so you're looking for it because he's so clearly old.
He's an elderly man.
So, like, he legitimately is AARP status now, so
yeah,
you're clearly like, come on.
He can't throw a kick when he's got his Depends on.
And it sucks. I love Roger Moore's Bond, but it's because it's just like, I jive with the tone because I know it was just silly 70s and 80s bullshit. And I was okay with that. It's not the Bond I prefer, but I'm like, it's fine. It's whatever.
Okay, so Raiders starts with him on the horse chasing down the trucks.
Yeah.
Casino Royale starts with the dumbass agent not being able to be an actual fucking like agent, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like pretty much the dumbest agent ever, like putting his ear or his finger to his ear. It's like, shouldn't that be like Agent 101 not to do that?
And
like,
then
really?
Immediately pulls his gun and throws it up in the air, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the dumbass of the group. He was probably the bottom of the class.
Everyone always, like, the people that are in favor of the expansion of James Bond, that's why you shouldn't want anything more than Bond. And also, now that Amazon owns Bond, I don't have high hopes.
Neither do I.
They've already killed some of my enthusiasm for Lord of the Rings, which
it's a shame.
That's not a lie. That's a lie. They haven't killed my enthusiasm for Lord of the Rings. I just can go, okay, so you know this show that they spent $1 billion on? Just look at it like it's fan fiction. And it's okay. Just look at it like it's fan fiction. And it'll be fine. Is
that a good thing when it costs like...
No, of course not.
$300 million for a season?
They legitimately paid like $1 billion for the first season. It was fucking wild. And it looks gorgeous in some ways, and yet it's straight garbage in some ways, and it hurts my feelings. But nonetheless, that's why just look at it as like it's fan fiction, and it's fine.
That's pretty bad though when you have to do that.
But again, Raiders has more fun moments and so many great ways to put its character in jeopardy, where Bond doesn't feel like he's in jeopardy very often. That's, I think, the difference. You feel like Indy's in jeopardy a lot. Bond's in jeopardy a couple times. But it's always him on the chase, where Indy's chasing them,
Yes.
but then half the time gets the upper hand and then gets taken away. The upper hand gets taken away. Like, there's
Bond
a
always
give and
feels
take.
like he needs to find a headstrong way of ingenuity,
Yes,
whereas Indy's just like, how do I counter like them just being assholes,
pretty much.
them being Nazis?
Yeah. How do I counter Nazis? Do other shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's worthwhile to say. But
What's your favorite moment of the Casino Royale chase?
Good question.
I know mine. It's
My,
when the guy jumps through the hole in the
I was
wall.
about to say the same thing.
Yeah, and then Daniel Craig just runs through it.
He runs
It's a
straight through
great
the
moment.
drywall. It's a perfect character moment.
Yeah,
He doesn't give a fuck. He's getting his man.
Or when he catches the pistol.
I
when they're
love
up on
that
that.
too. That's
Yeah.
rad. That's one of those moments that you're just like, nice.
Yeah.
Everyone loves to have those moments in action movies where you're just like, nice. That's
Yeah.
the moment. Chucks a pistol and he just goes, fuck you. And you're like, nah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
God, Daniel Craig's Bond's so cool, man. I fucking love Daniel Craig's Bond. It's the best. But that is the win for the Elite Eight here on the show. So we have our final four entry. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark as we both try to get lights on as we get the loss of the sun here in Wisconsin
Yes.
on this lovely Saturday evening. But hey, did you score that 8-2, 7-3? What did you score that one?
7-3.
All right, so that is a 14-6 win for Raiders. Woo! Final fours. Looking good here, my friend. And finally, the ultimate match of this episode for the Elite Eight. We have the Omaha Beach sequence from Saving Private Ryan as the number 1 seed in the Arnold bracket, which has taken out Jackie Chan's Police Story, which has taken out Top Gun Maverick, which has taken out Tom Cruise again in Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. It's taken out a mall fight, a test run sequence, a helicopter chase. And it's going to go up against Mad Max Fury Road. The sequence in particular is the bike jump chase sequence. They break the land bridge, chase down. It ends with the bride falling out of their tanker truck. Mad Max has gotten here by beating out Trainwreck from The Fugitive, the trench scene from Wonder Woman, and a scene I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull the trigger on in The Ride of the Rohirrim and The Return of the King. Mad Max has had some fierce competition. How did you split this one?
I did 7-3 Saving Private Ryan.
I went 5-5. The things I think Mad Max succeeds on, I like way more than I like Saving Private Ryan.
I was close. Yeah, I was really close to doing 6-4 Saving Private Ryan. So I was in between 7 and 6, but either way, Saving Private Ryan was going to move on. I think the thing about Mad Max is the same thing that we talked about with Speed, where it's like that whole movie is action.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that scene is amazing, but it is a scene in a movie full of
scenes.
action scenes.
Yes. It's just, it takes Speed, and then it's like if Speed did cocaine. That's what Mad Max is.
I would say a different drug, because it's definitely more trippy than cocaine is.
Oh, yes, of course, but...
Because cocaine is just like, oh, we gotta go, we gotta move.
Yeah, yes. The reason I was split on this is the enjoyment level for me is much higher in one scene than another.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Sure.
I love the cinematography in both, and I think Mad Max has such a unique style, and I mean it won an Oscar for editing for a reason. The way it's cut is just so cool and brings so much pace. Where I never want to say that the Omaha
I'm
Beach sequence lags. I don't think it
I'm
lags, but
I'm gonna guess that both of them won best editing.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I'll look it up right now.
But what I would say about this is when I look at it, I don't want to say Omaha Beach lags for me, but it certainly feels a little bit more weighty than Mad Max in terms of Mad Max is still bam 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 bam. Like Mad Max is one of the scenes that I had to break into two scenes for our viewers that are in the descriptions, right? And in doing so, it like where it has to break up the scene. We just got started. What are we doing? Like, and it ends so quickly. In feel, really, it's six in terms of true just of the action happening and not the setup. It's 6 minutes of film, but it feels like it's 30 seconds. It's just heart pounding all the time. Where in Omaha Beach, there's more of that horror feel to it, and it really gets the feeling of
Yeah.
allowing the viewer to be in that position of horrific stakes for a human being.
Yes, and that's kind of the point,
Yeah.
is to show that how horrific war is,
Yes.
which is why, like, whenever a World War II veteran, like, talks about that movie, they always say how
Yeah.
realistic it seems to them. Uh, yeah, it doesn't seem pleasant, that's for sure.
No.
It's not a fun movie to watch, really.
There's parts of it that are fun, but most of it's not.
Yeah. So it won best cinematography, best editing. It won Spielberg won director for it. Um, just looking through here. Obviously, it lost picture,
Yep.
sound, and then let me just look real quick for Mad Max here because that cleaned house for
I was
a
gonna say
lot
it
of.
won 7 Oscars.
So that got film editing, makeup and hairstyling, production design, sound editing, sound mixing. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
So
To me, it came down to preference. That was the biggest thing. Is I think
yeah,
I can't argue the craft of Saving Private Ryan, but I also think the craft is matching in Mad Max. But I was like, if I have to lean in terms of quality, I think it's probably Saving Private Ryan. Or in terms of enjoyment factor, it's not close for me. It's Mad
I
Max.
I think Saving Private Ryan's doing a little bit more with craft because they're doing a little bit more of the subjective
Sure.
camera work where it's like I don't know if they're doing low frame rate or if they're messing with the shutter angle or whatever, where it's like stuff will just all of a sudden slow down, it seems,
Yeah.
and then and then the sound will just like completely cut out, stuff like that. Um, so I feel like they do more with their scene,
Yeah.
but it is down to preference kind of at the end of the day. They're both great scenes.
Yeah. The stunt work is incredible in Fury
Yeah.
Road. Those bike jumps, and also when you watch the behind the scenes, not as many safety protocols on that as you would believe there would be. Just I don't know, it's fucking moving, just jump over it. You're like, what?
Huh. That's awesome.
And it's wild how much of that is that pace.
Where did
It's one of the best editing jobs I've ever seen because the pace is there throughout.
did they film that part in Australia?
I would say I think they filmed. I'm not sure because they had to move to Tunisia or Namibia, somewhere in northern Africa,
Hmm.
because there was a rainstorm that took their entire post-apocalyptic wasteland and turned it into a green field in
Yeah, I
Australia.
remember you telling me that. Yeah.
So it was interesting, but then they went back to Australia eventually, and then I think back to Africa again to do more. So I'm not entirely sure where that was shot.
Yeah, I want to say Omaha Beach was filmed in Ireland, I want to say. I'm just going to look it up.
That's some cold fucking water, dude.
Cuz I think they've got like yeah, Ireland. I want to say they got like it was a crazy amount of extras that were all uh war veterans to do the stunt work. But I can't remember how many. Shot over 15 days, $12 million to do that scene.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
God damn.
Pretty impressive.
God damn. I mean, it's impressive on the least. On the least, it's so fucking good. It's an incredible scene. It's a preference thing, and I went with Mad Max, but I was tied because I didn't know if I could really argue Mad Max either. So I went to split there. But Saving Private Ryan in a 12-8 win is going to make it into the Final Four. So our matchups in the Final Four are going to be as follows. The T-Rex escape from Jurassic Park is going to take on the Burj Khalifa climb from Ghost Protocol.
It's a good matchup.
And the truck chase from Raiders of the Lost Ark is going to be taking on Saving Private Ryan's Omaha Beach scene.
Okay.
And it's not all number one seeds either.
How about this for the next round? No 5-5 splits. That's a rule.
I don't know if I would anyways, but you know.
Okay, I've been doing it a lot more. I've been guilty of it way more than you.
I was gonna say I haven't had many ties. I've been forcing myself to, because the thing is, because I noticed how quickly you would tie on stuff, so I would try to force myself to go. You have a pick. Just do 6-4 if you're leaning away. The only one I think I've only had 2 ties, maybe, in this entire thing. If I'm looking at this correctly, it was just Fellowship, Dark Knight, and Mad Max, and Saving Private Ryan, now that I look at it.
I've had quite a few.
Oh, no, that's a lie. I had another one. Anchorman versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I couldn't pick which one I liked more. And I let you take the pick on that one. But yeah, I've only had 3 ties, and they're all things that it was love against love. What could I argue? So that's our Final Four here, folks. Let us know if you think we got it right or if you got it wrong in the comment section. We'd love to see it. Stay tuned because the Final Four and the final are right around the corner. Dylan and I are still determining whether we're going to shoot that in 1 episode or 2, so it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And we're going to stack rank. At the end of this tournament, we're going to stack rank what we think the true order of quality is for all of these movies each, and we're going to kind of share them with you. So it's going to be fun to see who was just a victim of seeding and who got on very far because seeding helped them out. So it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun here. That is going to do it here for us, folks, on the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Go watch a great movie. Bye-bye!